Hey guys, want to discover literary marvels such as A Death in Sweden by #1 best-selling thriller author Kevin Wignall? Or what about Tempting by #1 best-selling erotica author Alex Lucien? Or maybe you are just looking for love and purpose in your life. Check out my blog at fredericby.com. That's right, that's fredericby like bye-bye.com. But for now, enjoy the show. Hello everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for clicking the download button. I am Geek, and I am talking to you from right here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. You are listening to the book Geek Unchained. That's right, guys. Geeks, we are unchained. It's all about us now, taking on the world. The book Geek Unchained is home to literary marvels, those you know and those you do not know. I am a guy, I am a dude, I am a geek, I am a bookworm, I am a writer, I am a host, I am a friend. I am anything you want me to be, basically. This podcast is about fiction and non-fiction. Books that we love. You know, books change our lives. That's right. Books entertain. Books make us grow. It is a live podcast. It is free every time you download it on iTunes. Please go over there and subscribe. It is listener supported and fan supported. So the way you can do that is tell a friend. Leave a review on iTunes. For more podcasts, free gifts, Q&As, articles, subscribe at www.fredericby.com. You can also find me on Twitter. Add me on Twitter, people. Add by Fred, or on Facebook. Simply type in my name, Frederic By. And also check out my new YouTube channel, The Book Geek, for previous episodes. Hey guys, I want to hear from you. If you would like to be on the show to discuss a book you've written, or that you have loved, or if you have a book recommendation. I love to read. I love to read about the search for love, the search for purpose. I just love a great story. Or if you just want to chat, email me at info@fredericby.com. That's info@fredericby.com. For advertisement offers, use the same address with subject advertising. All right, right before we start, as many of you know, I like to start off with something funny. And this week is about a hot air balloon and two corporate men. Listen to this. Two corporate men are traveling in a hot air balloon, and suddenly they realize that they are lost. They shout down to a guy in the middle, "Where are we?" The guy below thinks for a bit and then replies, "You're in a hot air balloon." One of the men says, "Everything you have told me is technically correct. It's no use to anyone." The man below says, "You must be in management." "I am," replies the man in the balloon. "But how did you know?" "Well," says the man below, "you don't know where you are or where you're going, but you expect me to be able to help. You're in the same position you were before we met, but now it's my fault." All right, I had to get it. I had to get that one out of my chest. I have to admit, I like that one. I kind of have a little, I don't know. I kind of have a little bitter taste in my mouth, I should say, about corporate management and just, you know, the corporate world in general. I just found that joke hilarious. I loved it. Anyway, let's get on to the interview. Hey guys, today we have a very, very interesting person. Have you ever been so immersed, you know, in a book that you read a complete 700-page novel in one day? Well, you know what, guys? My fellow Nanowrimo my fellow Nanowrimo-er. What is that? Well, basically it's just someone who writes novels for fun and the challenge of it. And obviously they are avid readers. She's done it. And with her latest literary marvel called The Fool's Quest Book 2 of the Fitz and the Fool trilogy by Robin Hobb. Hey, you will see in this interview, guys, how much this book really sucked her in. It's a fantasy book. It's a book that's full of, imagery, description. You'll find out in that conversation. And she read the whole thing in one day. I am an avid reader. I have to read. If I don't read, I feel naked. And I'm sure that you feel this way also. And I always have a book in my hand everywhere, in my bathroom or in my bedroom, in my car, in my bags, everywhere. But I have to admit, 700 page in one day, she beat me there. She really did. Anyway, hey, it's Christmas season, guys. I just want to wish you an early Christmas, day, a Merry Christmas. Sorry. I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas in advance. Okay. It's the 12th. It's the 8th of December. So we're kind of a little early, but I just want to say shout out to all the people around the world right now. Thank you for all my subscribers, all my followers, all my Facebook, people who like my Facebook page. And people who are listening. Last week we had one of our biggest, I had one of my biggest downloads, I think, since I started, and that's awesome. So anyway, that's it for me for today. I just let's get to the conversation.
Hey, where's your accent from? You're not from France, are you?
I am.
Okay.
Why?
I remember you told me you were from France, but you have a Germanish accent, or like English from like England accent a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I just it's because I'm trying to enunciate right, I guess.
Okay. All right. Hey, so you cool now? You ready? Well,
Yes.
it's real simple. All right. So summarize the book for us. Okay. I checked out the book on Amazon and everything, but summarize it for us, please.
Okay, so basically it's the second book of a trilogy called The Fist and the Fool, and so it's by Robin Hobb, and what you have to know is that Robin Hobb started the story essentially back in 95. It's a continuous story that she writes in trilogies, and every time she's like, okay, I'm done, and then a few years later, oh wait, I have another story to tell you guys about this guy. So you basically follow the hero who's named Fitz Chivalry Farseer. He's a bastard. Basically, how it started is that he's a bastard, and the crown made him an assassin so that he wouldn't be a liability to the crown. So they made him a tool. And so where you are now is, oh, by the way, is this supposed to be like spoiler free? Because I need to tiptoe around.
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't have to be spoiler free.
It doesn't have, because it's going to be really hard to talk about the second book of a trilogy without spoilers. But I'm gonna try. And basically, can I read the summary?
Yeah.
I think we just...
Well, yeah, you can read it. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so basically, so long ago, Fitz and the Fool changed the world, bringing back the magic of dragons and securing both the Farseer succession and the stability of the kingdom, or so they thought. But now the Fool is near death, maimed by mysterious pale-skinned figures whose plans for world domination hinge upon the powers the Fool may share with Fitz's own daughter. Distracted by the Fool's perilous health and swept up against his will in the intrigues of the royal court, Fitz lets down his guard, and in a horrible instant his world is undone, and his beloved daughter stolen away by those who would use her as they had once sought to use the Fool. They would use her as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But Fitz Chivalry Farseer is not without weapons of his own, and ancient magic still lives in his veins, and though he may have let his skills as royal assassin diminish over the years, such things, once they are learned, are not so easily forgotten. So basically, he was an assassin, and then for 20 years, everybody thought he died, and he assumed this persona as King Squire, so he's retired away in the country. He's been living as Tom Badgerlock, like a very quiet life,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a daughter with his wife who died, and it was a very strange daughter. Like her wife was pregnant for like 2 years before she got the child, and she's a very strange daughter. And at the end of the first book, she gets kidnapped, and you pick up right after she is kidnapped, and Fitz learns about it. So it's basically the name called Fool's Quest. That's the name of the book, and that's basically it's the quest of Fitz to get back his daughter, and his close friend who is called the Fool. It's also the same quest because the Fool has been tortured by the same person who captured his daughter, and he wants revenge. So there are two quests aligned in that sense.
Okay, and okay, just going back to what you said earlier, you said the author started to write it in 1995. So
Yes.
what do you mean? The first book was written in 1995?
It was published in 1995. The first book is called Assassin's Apprentice. It's basically a very young Fitz. I think you follow him. He's barely 20 years old, and it's just how it starts. So the whole story, she started that like 20 years ago.
And what date is that book?
This is from this year. It came out in August 2015.
Oh wow! So she took 20 years to write the second one?
No. It's a series of trilogies. So this one is actually, I think, the fourth trilogy. It's just she always writes in the same realm, aside from this one trilogy.
Okay. So how many trilogies does she have?
She has, I think, in this realm that she's writing, she has now with this one, Fool's Quest, 4 trilogies about Fitz chivalry, and then she has another one, same realm, but you follow kind of on the other side of a border. You follow other heroes, and that's 5 trilogies, I think.
Okay.
In that realm, and then she has a series about dragons and elderlings, and that's also in the same world. So she wrote a lot in this world.
And how did you find the book? How did you find
I don't remember. I've been following her for so long. Like I said, I think I started with Assassin's Apprentice, so I've been kind of following her from the start. I think I picked it up just in my favorite bookstore, and ever since I just followed the first book, I fell in love, and I just devoured everything that she was reading.
So you're a book shopper. Are you the type, like, do you go in bookstores and just pick out a book? Like you just look at the cover and if
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I know they say don't judge a book by its covers, but I think that's not true. Sometimes covers are so beautiful they just naturally draw your eye to it.
Yeah.
The book.
Yeah.
And by the way, the covers for this trilogy is just stunning. I really love it.
Yeah, I check it out. It is.
Yeah, like it's very kind of simple. It's just like the main hero, but it's really nice. So
so why is it? Because I asked you if it was your what was your favorite book, and you picked that one. Why that one over like others?
Why that one? Well, first of all, Robin Hobb is really my favorite author. I really admire her work, how she builds the world, how she builds the characters, how the writing in itself, I really like it. And then why that book of hers among all others? Perhaps because that's the most recent I've read, but also because I think it's one of the I've really enjoyed that one. Which is surprising because it's the second book in a trilogy, and how usually the second book is always kind of, you have low expectations because it's kind of a bridge between the first and the third, but this book I think was even better than the first one. It had everything. I was really, really into it.
So there's a lot of action in it, I imagine, eh?
Actually, it was a lot of action near perhaps the second half of it. It's you would imagine because at the end, like I said, the daughter is kidnapped, so you would imagine Fitz rushing to her rescue, and actually that's where she shows the character's development. Fitz has age, and he's wiser in his decision, and so it's a slow build, and there's a lot of things that happens, yes, but Robin Hobb, she takes her time, like building everything, so it's not fast. It's fast paced, let's say, second half, but the first half is really just building upon what she put down in the first.
And okay, so how did you experience the book? Were you engaged in it immediately, or did it take you a while to get into it?
Oh no, I was absolutely the first page I was in it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about Robin Hobb, because I love just plunging into a book and just emerging hours later, and that's what I did with this one. I was just drawn into it immediately because Fitz is a character that I followed for so long. I was when I saw that his daughter was kidnapped, like, oh man, wait until he hears about this, he's gonna go crazy, and he kind of does actually. So you follow him, he reunites with his old friend, the Fool, which was really, I was really waiting for that since the first book of this trilogy, so I was really engaged from the start and following him, and a bunch of things happened to him that my favorite passage is actually in the first half, and I actually cried at one point because I was
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. So
it wasn't like cry, like oh my god, fountains of tears, but it was like a little tear that formed at the corner of my eyes.
What touched you? Okay.
Well, it was this passage that just because Fitz is kind of the guy who will blame himself for everything. Everything is his fault, and he likes being in the shadows. He likes no one knowing everything that he has done. And in this book, they finally recognize him as an official prince, and they finally because since everyone believed he was dead and he's under persona, the person he was kind of not blacklisted, but his name was really dragged through the mud, and so they restore his name, and they finally give him credit for everything that he has done. And there's this scene where he's being officially named prince by the queen and the king, and it's just everyone is applauding and he's celebrating him, and he's just stunned, and just his reaction, how he's stunned and just speechless, just that made me, oh my god.
Okay, so he was kind of getting his
he's getting his moment after 20 years. He's finally getting his moment, and really you, and that was just amazing. I think I read that passage 3 times.
So he was also in the other stories, right?
Yes. Okay. He's the main character of the 4 trilogies with the assassin, and it's written in the first person point of view, which is really engaging as well, because you're in his shoes literally, and you follow him step by step.
Hey, in general, because I like first person. Do you prefer like third person or first person in general?
Actually, in general, I prefer third person because I find that first person it's really easy to screw it up, in my opinion, and if it's not written well, it can really pull you away from the book really fast.
At first person?
First person, yes.
Okay.
That's what I find. Maybe I just had really bad experiences with books in first person, but actually that's also one of the reasons why Robin Hobb is one of my favorite authors, because I can really follow the story. First person doesn't bother me like he usually does, and I'm really into it. The way she really describes the actions, the world, she really sticks with one point of view, and that's really, really impressive.
And okay, so how did you feel reading the whole thing? Is it something that, because you said you cry, okay, but in general, like, were you amused, confused, disturbed, sad? What's the general emotion when you read the book?
Can I say just all of these? You like, when I pick up one of the book by Robin Hobb, I have a really hard time putting it down. So usually I just read it in one go, like in one day. And so
really?
Yes, I do.
One day? How many pages is this?
Oh, this one is 700, give or take.
Wait. You read 700 pages in one day?
Yes, but like a long day. But,
holy cow!
I do. Well, that's because I cannot put it down literally. So it's not a tale that will just tear at your heartstring and just make you cry the whole time. It's just something that you will be really passionate about if you, like me, if you follow Fitz. It's just, I was passionate about him, and I just read from the go, and it was really, well, it was my favorite scene, like I said, when he's being officially made prince, but there's also very emotional moments between him and the Fool. There are actions when he's hunting down some of his daughter's kidnappers, and he's finally bringing back. It's like he's learning again his assassin skills, because it's been 20 years since he did some assassin's work, right? So since he had to fight, so there's also that whole dilemma in him. Like, he thought he had put that life away, but now it's back, but it's not quite the same. And yeah, that's pretty much all of it. Confused, sad, amused. There are some very amusing moments, although I cannot give you quotes just because it's more like inside jokes. If you read the first book, so if you know his story, it makes it funny to you. But someone who has no idea what the story is about, I could read the quotes and.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask if I haven't read the first one, is the second one? You know, do I need to read the first one to read the second one?
I think you need to read the first one of this trilogy to really enjoy the second one. I don't think you necessarily need to read like all the other books she wrote about his past, but I think you would need to read the book one, just because the book one is really the layer, the base, and then she builds upon that. So it might still be an enjoyable read, but there's a lot of things that might be missed if you haven't read the first book of that trilogy.
Okay, so let's talk about the main characters for a moment. What about their personality traits? I mean, their motivations, their inequalities. What jumped at you for? What's the name of the main character?
So his name is Fitz. His name is Fitz, and his official name is Fitz Chivalry Farseer. That's like his whole name, but everybody named him Fitz, which means like the bastard. Basically, he's literally named Bastard. Well. Actually, that's what I like about this character, and it's what I usually hate in other characters. He mopes around a lot. Like
he what?
He mopes around. It's always
mocking. Okay, he mocks people.
No, mopes. Like, he's moping around. Like he's always like brooding, kind of. Not brooding, because that's the wrong word. But really, he always thinks, okay, everything is my fault. If something happens, it's my fault, or this happens, it's gonna turn bad. And usually, I hate these kind of characters because, you know, they're kind of depressing. But this guy, I don't know how Robin Hobb achieves it, because it's in light touches. It's not too intense. Like, you don't get into a huge internal dilemma about brooding and stuff. It's not that, but it's really. Okay, you read something that happens, you're like, yeah, of course Fitz is going to think he's guilty for that, and then you read Fitz's thoughts, and you're like, yeah, here you go, I guessed it, I called it, he's feeling guilty, and it's just because he alternates between feeling guilty and then he takes action for it in a really badass way, I guess, so I have a lot of fondness for him, even though he's...
Really?
Yeah, even though he's really serious and kind of intense sometimes. And I have a great fondness for him. And as another main character that I really like is, like I said, I talked about him a little bit, the Fool. No one really knows his real name. He's just called the Fool. And he was originally a jester in the kingdom's court. But he assumes many persona, and actually you see him in other trilogies of Robin Hobb. Under another persona, a girl, and you don't even know if he's really a man or a woman. He's androgynous, and he's kind of mysterious. You don't really know a lot about his past. Actually, a lot is revealed about his past in the second book. That's what is also engaging. Like, you learn more about him, and he's kind of he talks in a little bit of riddles, and he's always kind of mysterious. He's the first one to kind of mock Fist for like being so serious. He's kind of a light.
It always fascinates me how certain writers are able to like create worlds, especially like in sci-fi and fantasy. Like, I don't know. Like, I like to read. Do you know Paulo Coelho?
Yes.
You know, he's the best to me, right? But he's not the type of writer like Robin Hobb, I think, or Harry Potter, where he's going to create a world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, definitely. It's impressive the amount of work and details she went through on her world building alone. Like, there's a whole story. I bet if I researched the whole books and trilogies, I could pull out like genealogy and just general history of the realms that she built, and that's also very impressive to me, because you're literally building everything from scratch, and then you have to make sure everything is cohesive.
You mentioned Fritz earlier. how has the past like shaped his life and his, you know what I mean? How has his past shaped how he is now? Like you say, he feels guilty for a lot.
Yes.
You know, he seems to feel guilty for like a lot of things.
That's actually, yes, was because the character has been broken down many times, and every time he's kind of rebuilding himself from it. So
Broken down how?
well, sometimes emotionally, physically also he's been tortured at least once or twice.
By whom? By like enemies or parents or?
The torture that's still haunting him is the one where basically he was thrown into a dungeon by his it's not step brother but his half brother, I guess, who was considering him as a threat, or his uncle. Anyway, he was
Frat brother, you said?
Half brother, because he's
half brother. Okay, yeah.
And because his uncle who wanted to take the throne, and anyway, he got beaten down really bad, and actually he had to. He was on the point of. I think he died. They managed to make him die, and then he came back. So he's always been the one who. Yeah, he's always, like I said, broken down and then rebuilding. So, how the past shaped him is that he doesn't really expect anything out of people anymore. It's just if you want something, it's up to you to do it. And
and do you admire that, or do you disapprove that? Like, does it? So the character, does he inspire you, like something that you admire? Or not?
He does, and he doesn't. Like I said, he manages to do so much stuff all by himself. Like, but at the same time, you're like, oh my god, accept a little help. Like, for example, in this book, he wants to go after his daughter, and everyone was like, okay, we're gonna help you, and he's no, I don't want any help because you're just gonna slow me down. And on one hand, you're like, yes, I see the point because he's very efficient, but on the other hand, it's really annoying how he refuses any help. He doesn't think he's deserving of any help. So that's actually, I kind of like that about him. The fact that he does stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do or even approve, but because it's so well written and because you're so into it, you still agree with it, you still follow it, and you stick with him, basically.
And does it remind you that character, that type of personality, does it remind you of someone you know?
No.
Like, does it remind you of people you know? No.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no. I would love to know someone like him. Although I think I would just whack them on the head so many times for like being so stupid. But no, it doesn't remind me of anyone that I know.
Okay. And do the main characters change by the end of the book? Like, do they grow? Do they mature?
Yes, actually, that's what's interesting also about this book is that, so like I said, he was 20 years away. He used to be a very good assassin. He kind of tries to pick up his skills, and then you realize that the old Fists 20 years ago would have just rushed along and just went after his daughter, probably almost killed himself in the process, and, consequences be damned. But because he's older and wiser now, that makes him an even more deadly assassin in a way. It's just, he really weights his decisions, and so that's one change that you see him going through, is like trying to pick up his old assassin skills and trying to fit them with what he is now, what he's become. And also, you see, he was a user of magic because his bloodline is a bloodline that carries magic within it, except because he was a bastard, he was badly trained on purpose, and so his magic was kind of maimed, and you never see him really fully use that magic. And in that second book, he's starting to, you don't really know yet how it's possible, or he's starting to display powers that you're like, wow, it's really powerful stuff, and it's not really explained yet how it's possible that he can do that. So that's the changes he's going through right now. And we're going to see more in 2016 in book 3.
Yeah. So you don't. I mean, does he learn something about himself in that book? Or how the world works? So it kind of halts at. Does he learn about something? Does he learn something about himself? In that book.
He does. Just trying to place it into words. Like, really, I think he's starting finally to recognize that he's worthy of more than what he has right now, because the whole him being officially recognized as prince, that is huge, because it's been really emphasized in every book how everything he does, he has to do in the shadows. How it must not be known. And so I think he's learning that he, and unknowingly, really deep down, he really wanted that kind of attention or that kind of recognition. He just never allowed himself to yearn for it. And now that he's earning it, you see him maybe changing a little bit, his personality being perhaps a little bit less brooding. I think it heals him in a way.
Okay. Oh, good. What passages, struck you as insightful or even profound? Maybe a dialogue that's funny or poignant or.
There was that whole, there was a passage with the Fool and Fitz that were talking about, because there's a lot of talking also about destinies, because the Fool was also a prophet. He could see the future, and that's actually the Fitz daughter has the same powers, and that is why she's been kidnapped. She's been kidnapped by religious fanatics who are looking for the next prophet, but they're not looking for the prophet to follow what his dreams will be and to change the future. They actually want to lock the prophet away to make sure that they can shape the future to their advantage for wealth and power. And I had favorite quotes.
Well, it doesn't have to be a quote, just a passage maybe, or maybe, I don't know, a scene.
Basically, aside from, again, the scene where he's being recognized, was that was really powerful. There's also any kind of scene between the Fitz and his old friend the Fool is always pretty moving, because they're linked, and just they've been away from each other for 20 years, and just to see them together again, and just talking to each other again, and just exchanging words, and just reconnecting, that was always really deep.
Okay. And so what are the main ideas, themes that the author explores?
Well, I think the main themes would be, it's the whole quest thing, but maybe how, as you mature, you might not do the same actions again. I think it's just about growing up, but not growing up, maturing more. So it's more
becoming wiser, kind of?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's the main theme?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess the main theme is really, also about vengeance. Is vengeance really the right path, or is it more about, about doing what is right? Yes.
Don't you think that, I'm an avid reader, obviously, and you are, obviously. I think oftentimes, readers, we want to learn something, and we want to experience a story, okay, especially if you read fiction, okay, but don't you find that, for me, I always want to kind of learn more about myself as I read something. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but I'm a very naive reader. I will just believe anything that an author will put into words. So I like finding stuff about myself when I read something. I know at one point I read one trilogy from Robin Hobb, and I just did a whole analogy between what she was writing about magic to writing, and I just found that really cool. But on this one, I was just really carried away by the story. Might need a second read to really find something insightful.
Yeah.
But I don't think I learned something about myself, maybe that I could cry about the book, but nothing else.
Well, if if this scene about him getting his moment touched you that way, maybe that's something that you long for. We all long for our moment, but
yeah, probably. I don't know if you know myself that well, but yeah,
it's alright.
But
hey, does the author use symbols to reinforce the main idea, to reinforce becoming wiser? Does he use particular symbols or not?
No, not that I know of. I haven't noticed any symbolism in there. There probably is, but like I said, I'm a pretty naive reader, so I didn't see any powerful symbols.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the book's structure. Is it a continuous story or interlocking kind of short stories?
It's a continuous stories, but from two point of views, which he introduced in this trilogy, because all the previous trilogies, you always follow Fitz no matter what. And I think that's another thing that's really well done is that you follow Fitz, and then sometimes you have the point of view of B, that's his daughter's name, and you follow her story as well as she's being kidnapped and dragged away to this foreign country. And because you've been following Fitz for so long, you have a moment when you step out of his shoes and you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to follow his daughter. I don't really care about his daughter. I just want to follow him. But she does it so well that after you turn the first page, you're, okay, nope, I love B. She's awesome. She's a strange little girl. And so it's the same story, but told from different point of views. So but it's quite continuous.
Okay, quite continuous. And so it moves in a chronological way, or is it back and forth between past and present? It's chronological?
It moves chronologically, yes.
Okay. Is the plot engaging? Like, I mean, is it a fast-paced, page turner? Or is it like it's a slow build? Because in the beginning you said it's slow, but then you said it hooked you from the beginning. I mean, is it a slow build?
It is slow at some points. Like there are some points where Fitz is forced to slow down and just think about what he's doing, or because essentially that was also something cool because he was recognized as a prince. He cannot do the things he used to do anymore in the shadows where, he could rush along and just nobody cared because nobody knew. But now that he's a prince, he has to show the right example. He cannot just disappear. So there are some points where there are some lulls in the story, I guess, but it's just more to catch your breath. Because I guess, I did say it was slow building, but because the action sometimes just like emotional action, if that makes sense. For example, that scene where he's also a scene with his old mentor, who's an old assassin himself, and that guy has always been in the shadows. And before that scene where he gets recognized, he tells him, I think the best mistake your father made was you, which is really something from that guy. So that's like an emotional roller coaster, but it's still a slow build. The action is really more at the end when he's finally on his quest with the fool. He finally leaves to try to find his daughter and take revenge on the people who took her. So It's a page turner because there are so many secrets revealed of something that you've been wanting to know since, I guess 1995 and 20 years later. So yes, that's why it's a page turner, because you're like, oh my god, finally I know.
Okay, so it's not fast-paced all the time. It's like slow, but it's still a page-turner, but it's not. The action is not fast, right?
The action is not fast. It's just very engaging because.
Just going back to you said there are shifting viewpoints, right? First person to like different viewpoints from different characters. Why do you think the author has chosen the story to tell the story the way she did? What difference does it make in the way you read it or understand it?
I think she did that because it gives us perhaps the two sides of the story, because if it was just Fitz, it would be really hard to care about the daughter. I think that's the main reason why she switched her point of view, is because you've been so long with Fitz that yes, okay, his daughter is very important to him and you want him to find her, but the fact that she also, sticks you in her shoes and what she's going through, it makes her really special and important in your eyes as well. And also the fact that because she's being dragged away to literally another country so far away, it would be really hard to follow what happened and connect the dots if it was only one point of view.
Okay, I get it. So it just completes the story. I get it.
Yes.
Okay. Were you surprised by the plot's complications, or did you find them predictable, or from your
No, I was surprised. When his mentor finally said that he's the best mistake his father made, that was surprising, because his mentor is kind of cold-hearted. Well, not cold-hearted, he's just a grumpy old man that just will not admit that. He will not. And the fact that, like I said, when he's been recognized, that was a huge surprise. We want it for him, but we never expected it to happen, and it did, and that was surprising. I did not. That's one of the reasons why she's also my favorite author. I never expect. She never does the expected. Like, you expect Fitz to run along and just go and find his daughter, and instead he's which makes sense. He's wiser and he takes his time. So No, never.
So you were satisfied by the end then?
No, it's a cliffhanger. So I'm not satisfied. I want more. No, but she has to stop at some point, I guess, and it was a good place to stop, because at the end he's finally on a quest. He's finally going to find his daughter with a fool, and he's actually not going as assassin or even as a vengeful father, which he wanted to go that way, but then something unexpected happens, and he has to announce himself as the Prince Fitzchevalier Farseer. So it's kind of surprising. He has to play this role that he's never played before, and it stops there. So you want to know what happens. He's also starting using magic, and it does something to him, and you don't know what's going to happen to him, and you want to know more. So you have.
So it's a cliffhanger, but would you change it? Would you change the ending?
No.
Or you would leave it as a cliffhanger?
I would leave it as a cliffhanger, just because, it's painful, but it's also love it. So no, I just.
Are there any negatives as a fan that you noticed?
No, I can't. No? I can't find any negative with Robin Hobb. That's just. I'm always hard pressed to find anything bad to say about her or her books or her story. I think, not as a fan, maybe as an objective reader, I guess you could say that sometimes she takes a really long time to make her point. But other than that, no, nothing bad.
Okay. How has this novel changed you? Has it broadened your perspective a little bit on, have you learned something new or exposed to different ideas about people or certain part of the world?
Nothing
Not
new,
really.
just maybe ideas that I really enjoy revisiting.
Okay.
Like about, do you shape your own destiny, or is it destiny that shapes you? Vengeance versus doing what's right. So not new ideas, but really old themes that I'd like to explore again. And like I said, maybe the fact that it's possible for me to be up for almost 24 hours to finish a book. That's also.
Yeah, 700 pages. Oh my gosh.
It's just when you. I wouldn't do it for many authors, but Robin Hobb is definitely the exception.
Yeah. No, I hear you. If you could ask the author a question, what would you ask?
That's a tricky question. I would just ask. I don't know. I don't really know. It's just maybe how she does it. Just building that kind of details into her story. Maybe how she...
Did you read her first book?
Yes, I read them all.
Okay, and do you see a big difference in her writing from the first one to this one?
I do. Her writing is much more paced. It's actually much more pleasant. I think the sentences themselves are just much more structured as well. That's the main. It's just she grew as a author, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe the pace. No, I mean the writing is much more detailed, but at the same time, the pacing is much more balanced. In the first one, I guess you could say it was really long periods of time before there was any action. Right now, it's much more, a little bit of time waiting and then action and then waiting and then action. So I guess she learned her pacing well.
And to whom would you recommend the book?
I would recommend the book to anyone who likes this whole, there's a quest and then you have to go on a quest. But you know how old fantasy was much more about the quest than it was about the characters, and now it's much more, it was about the quest and then you would find characters who fit the quest. Kind of like, in this type of book, there's always like a prophecy and then you have the mage, the assassin, blah, blah, blah. And then this type is like revisited with the character, and the characters make the quest. So it's this. So I would recommend this for anyone who doesn't mind, first of all, the long pages, because it's not a fast read, and who like really details and in-depth character development and story development.
Yeah, so I imagine it's the type of book where there's a lot of description as far as the setting, right?
Yes. There is.
And so she spends a lot of time on the setting and stuff?
She does, but much more in the first book than the second book.
Okay.
So that's why we have to read them in free.
Hey, as a fan of Paulo Coelho, why would you read a Paulo Coelho versus why Robin Hood?
Actually, I
Robin
know
Hobb.
of Paulo Coelho, but I don't think
Okay.
I've read any of his books yet.
Oh, okay. So you're really a fantasy girl, fantasy fan?
Yes.
Girl?
I am. I actually started reading again also only recently, but yes, I read a lot of fantasy almost exclusively. I should maybe, divert, but
No, you don't have to. Okay, that's cool. I guess that's it.
right.
Hey, that's cool. How was it?
That was okay. My accent wasn't too bad.
You what?
My accent.
No, it was good. It's perfect. It's great. No, it was great.
All right.
That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can visit frédéricbaye.com/podcast. If you'd like to connect, you can also tweet me @byfred, or you can find me on Facebook @FrédéricBaye_writer. And remember, live with purpose, passion, and love.